Hello chess family, it's time for another game review, and this one we're going to be going over is Sarayu, one of the young Indian players that has really taken a storm. She just played in a tournament recently where she took second place but was beating players 400 to 600 points higher than her. Here we're going to see the exact same thing when she's taking on a master. Let's get to it. Here we start off with e4, she is playing with the white pieces. c6, here we go against the Korakon. d4, d5, e5, she likes to play the advanced variation. Bishop over to f5, very common idea. Pawn to h4, I love how she likes to attack on the king side here by pushing up all her king side pawns. h5, saying, nah, we're not going to be doing that today. Bishop to d3, another common move. Bishop takes, queen a5 check, knight to d2, Queen a6, a very annoying move that I've had to deal with, and well, I really like this move that she plays. It seems like this is one of the top moves to play here for white, and well, I'll go and ask you guys, what do you play here as white? White to move, what do you play here? This is a very cool idea. She plays it and gets a very good attacking game. Here she actually plays pawn to e6, a very cool move here. I've moved my queen around, but the bad thing about the queen being here over here on a6 is that, well, you can't really castle here so easily. If the knight goes to e2, well, yeah, your queen has to stick around here to defend it. So this e6 move was a new move for me that I really liked quite a bit. And, well, after e6, queen takes over here on d3, and here now white actually has a very good position. Pawn takes in check, king takes, and pawn takes on d3. Even though she did get these double pawns here, they're actually doing a very good job by controlling the center. Especially later on when we see the knight come out, well, it can't really get to a good square here. And this pawn over here is controlling other good squares, so these pawns are really doing a good job controlling the center. Here we go, knight to d7 got played, knight d2 f3, pawn to c5, knight to g5 check. You can definitely see that this weakness on e6 is there. For that reason, she has Black goes ahead and runs the king up to f6. Notice that if the king goes anywhere else, let's just say over to e6, to e8 here, then the knight can jump into e6, and knight c7 check. Again, this knight is just the best piece on the board here. So the king is forced up here to f6. Definitely not where the king was right to go earlier. Rook to h3, another very nice move here. A rook lift, getting the rook into the game, threatening rook over to f3 check. Knight to h6, rook over to e3, now threatening rook over to e6 check, and it looks like there might be some checkmating ideas around here. Here Black went ahead and played pawn to g6, not only to, well, move the pawn out the way and bring the bishop out, but maybe the king even has an escape square over here on g7. She does not slow down here, knight 1 to f3, pawn takes on d4, rook to e6 check. You have to be careful here as well. Knight takes on d4 would probably deal with pawn to e5, and these two pawns are really going to be pushing white's pieces back over here. And after rook e6 check, well, Black is forced to play king to g7. There was a cute little mate here in 4 if the king does go to f5. Feel free to push pause if you want to try and figure it out. If not, enjoy the show. Here we go. Knight takes on d4 check, king to g4, knight g to f3, g5, knight h2 check, king takes, and the knight on f3 ends it with a checkmate. Actually pretty close to what happens in the real game. We get a very nice checkmate here with the knights. Alright, back to the game. That's why the king had to run over here to g7. It's really cool to see the minor pieces taking a big role in this game, especially because a lot of people think whenever it's endgame, whenever there's only minor pieces on the board, it can be very boring. This is definitely not the case in this game. Here we go, bishop to f4, very nice move, bringing in the bishop, definitely looking at attacking the king with bishop to e5 check. Rook over to c8, bishop to e5 check, knight over to f6, bishop takes on d4. You can see that white's pieces are just doing a great job here, taking up all these great squares. Pawn to b6 was played, king to d2, another move I really like. A lot of people get really stuck in endgames that they must castle. This is not the case here. The king to d2 makes lots of sense, as it's going to do a nice move to move out the way so the rook can move over. He said the e file is very weak over here. Knight to f5 was played. And here, bishop c3. We definitely don't want to lose this bishop. This is a very strong piece holding on for the attack. Rook to g8 was played. Here we go, rook to c1. A nice little threat right here. Bishop takes on f6 check as the rook on c8 is unprotected. King h6 trying to run out the way. g3. Things are nice and calm over here for her. Knight to d6. And here we go, a nice little tactic. Rook takes on d6. This forces Black's hand. He has to take on c3 here. Okay, what was wrong? If pawn takes over here, it's actually a forced checkmate yet again. Again, very cool for such small pieces left on the board. Here bishop takes f6 is played, and well, this rook is hanging, so well, let's just say they go rook takes on c1. Here you missed the idea, it is now checkmate in 2. Knight f7 check, king h7, and knight to g5 check and mate. It seems like in all these variations, the checkmate is just ending with these beautiful knights. Alright, back to the game. Rook takes on c3 was played. You got to get rid of that bishop. And well, rook takes on c3, pawn takes. Now the pawn structure is all messed up. And well, these knights cannot just look any better over here. You definitely see that the knight is going to be going to d4 in the future here too. Rook over to c7. Bad rook, bad bishop. This knight is probably the only good piece that black has right now. Good rook, good knight. This knight, again, is not the best place, but it's going to begin to a good square pretty soon. A5 was played. Here black is still worried about the pawn structures, or not losing a pawn, when they should be worried about not losing their king. Here we go. Knight to d4 got played. Rook to g7, seeing if they can get a trade. Maybe if they make a trade, they can try to get to a decent endgame as far as, well, being able to draw and just trade off all the pieces, especially since white's pieces are so well placed, and black's rook was just doing terrible. Of course, white says no. Sarayu is not up for the trade. Rook c8, threatening over here at the bishop, maybe even rook to h8 check 2. Rook g8, knight to e6, attacking the bishop. Bishop over to e7, rook to c7, bishop back to f8, and now, well, it's just checkmate in 2. Alright, feel free to push pause and see if you can figure out this very nice checkmate. Alright, hopefully you push pause, try to figure it out. Here it does involve a sacrifice, I knew you'd like it. Here it is going to be a checkmate with the knight, so we're going to go ahead and play rook to h7 check. This is forced. Well, you must take back here or you're just going to lose. So the knight takes, and now you see the idea, hopefully. Yep, this is all done so you can play knight to f7 for check and mate. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you in the next video.